Hello, and welcome. Come, find a comfortable place, let your shoulders fall, release the tension in your jaw, and allow your breathing to slow. Close your eyes and let the sounds of the world fade, replaced only by the sound of my voice. We are here to talk about one of the deepest and most fundamental truths of the multiverse. We are not, in fact, beginning with a person, or a god, or a place. We are beginning with an idea. We are beginning with the air you breathe. Or rather, the air between the air you breathe. Imagine for a moment that you are a fish, swimming in a vast, limitless ocean. This ocean is all you have ever known. It is the medium through which you move, the source of the pressure on your scales, the very substance that carries warmth and cold, and the medium that transports the scent of predator or prey. You do not think about the ocean. You do not question the ocean. You simply are, and the ocean is the substance of your being. You move a fin, and the water parts and swells behind you, a perfect logical consequence of your action. How? Now imagine you are a person walking on the land. You too are in an ocean, an invisible ocean of air. You do not think about it. You move your hand, and the air parts, a consequence so subtle you do not even perceive it. You breathe it in. You breathe it out. It is the fundamental, unquestioned medium of your life. In the worlds of Dungeons and Dragons, there is a third ocean. Hell. It is not water, and it is not air. It is an ocean of potential, an ocean of possibility. It permeates every single thing. It is between the atoms of a stone. It is in the synapse of a thought. It is in the silence between heartbeats. It is the invisible, omnipresent, and utterly fundamental framework of reality. And it is called the weave. Tonight, before we speak of goddesses and their sacrifices, of ancient empires and their catastrophic falls, we must first simply be in this ocean. We must try to understand the very thing that makes reality real. Real. The weave is not magic. That is the first and most important distinction. To say the weave is magic is like saying the ocean is a swim or the air is a breath. No, the weave is the potential for magic. It is the set of laws, the divine physics, the cosmic operating system that allows magic to happen in a structured, orderly way. Before the weave, there was only the raw, screaming, untamed chaos of arcane energy. It was a storm without direction. It was fire without fuel, light without a source. It was pure, destructive, and utterly unusable. It was a sea of raw power that would annihilate any mind that tried to touch it. The weave is the structure that tamed it. The weave is the great, silent, intricate network of conduits and channels that gives this raw energy form. It is the if-then statement of the cosmos. If you say these words, and if you make this gesture, and if you hold this component, then the weave will respond. It will obediently channel that raw chaotic power, shape it, filter it, and release it as a spell. A fireball, a healing touch, a whispered word of suggestion. Niti. When a wizard, after long, arduous years of study, opens his mind, he is not just memorizing. He is learning to see the weave. He is a mathematician learning the equations of reality. He sees the glowing, impossibly complex strands of a particular spell. He traces its path, understands its structure, and with his intellect, he seizes a hold of that strand and holds it in his mind. He is preparing a spell. He is holding a tiny, specific piece of the cosmic equation, ready to be solved. When he casts that spell, he is not creating a fire. He is simply letting go. He speaks the final word, and the weave, which he has held in a specific pattern, does the rest. The weave itself draws the power, shapes the fire, and sends it hurtling toward its target. The wizard is a code talker, a navigator. He is a man who has learned the secret language of the ocean. When a sorcerer, wild, instinctive and raw, casts a spell, she is not seeing the weave. She is feeling it. She is a part of it. It flows through her blood. A gift or a curse from a dragon's heritage or a divine touch. She does not learn the equations. She is the equation. She wishes for fire, and the weave, which is already a part of her very soul, responds. It is not study. It is instinct. It is not navigation. It is a current that flows through her. But it is, nonetheless, the weave. Without it, her bloodline would be nothing but a strange quirk. With it, she is a conduit for creation. When a bard plucks a string, he is not just playing music, he is playing the strands of the weave itself. He has learned the resonant frequencies of reality. He plays a chord that is not just harmonious to the ear, but is harmonious to the very fabric of existence. He plays a note of courage, and the weave responds, taking that intent and translating it, bolstering the souls of those around him. He is a musician whose instrument is the universe. When a cleric or a paladin prays for a spell, they are not touching the weave, not directly. Theirs is a different path, a different ocean. Theirs is the ocean of faith, the power granted by a deity, a divine pact. And yet, that divine power, when it manifests, when it heals a wound or smites a foe, it too must obey the laws of reality. It too is shaped by the weave. A god may grant the power, but it is the weave that gives it form and function in the mortal world. And for the common man, the farmer, the god, the king, the weave is everything. It is the reason the sun rises in a predictable path. It is the reason fire is hot and ice is cold. It is the reason a rock, when dropped, falls down and not up. It is the law of gravity. It is the law of thermodynamics. It is the quiet, constant, reliable order of things. They do not know it, they do not feel it, but their entire existence is built upon a silent, benevolent stability it provides. This is why the weave is so much more than magic. loreDND. It is the fundamental structure of all things. And because it is a structure, it can be damaged. It can be broken. Imagine, what would happen if the laws of physics flickered? What if, for 1 second, the law of gravity decided to take a vacation? What if fire suddenly, with no warning, became cold? What if the very atoms of your hand decided they no longer wished to be bound together, and simply drifted apart? This is the terror of a dead magic zone, a place where the weave has been torn, ripped away. It is not just a place where wizards cannot cast spells. It is a place where the universe is wrong. It is a wound in reality. The air feels thin and sharp. Colors seem muted. Sound is flat, without echo. Without life, it is an emptiness that screams at the soul, a profound sense of wrongness. And what of the opposite? A wild magic zone, a place where the weave has been twisted, knotted, and frayed. Here, the ocean is a storm. The laws of reality are not gone. They are shouting. They are in contradiction. A wizard attempts his simple fireball, the equation he has solved 1,000 times, but in this place the weave is snarled. He lets go of his spell, and the weave, in its chaotic, painful spasm, responds incorrectly. The fire does not appear. Instead, he turns bright blue, or he begins to float, or, in a horrifying instant, a different creature, a demon, is pulled through the snarled threads of reality and appears before him, summoned by his simple, catastrophic mistake. This is the fragility. This is the truth of the weave. It is the all-encompassing ocean of reality, the very definition of is, and it is, to the terror of all existence, something that can be torn, something that can be poisoned, something that can be killed. For the weave, this vast, cosmic and impersonal system, is not in fact impersonal at all. It is not a natural law, like gravity. It is an artifact. It is a creation, and it has a creator, a guardian, a mind that tends to it. That is it. In a way, our minds cannot truly grasp. It's just now. The ocean has a consciousness. The very fabric of reality has a soul. And that is where our story truly begins. That is why we first find her, the goddess who is not just a goddess of magic, but who is the weave itself, the one whose health dictates the health of reality, the one whose thoughts are the laws of physics, the one whose sacrifice, whose death, and whose rebirth has shaped the history of the multiverse, time and time again. Tonight, we are going to tell the story of the weave's soul. We are going to tell the story of Mistra. Let your mind settle. Let go of what you think you know, and drift with me into the invisible ocean. Drift deeper. Let your mind float past the understanding of the weave as it is, and journey with me back, through the uncounted eons into the deep, primordial past, back to a time before the weave, before the comfort of predility, before the laws of physics. Imagine, if you can, the chaos. It was not darkness. It was not a void. It was everything, all at once, with no separation. It was an explosion that never ended, a scream that never began. It was the raw, untamed, unchanneled energy of creation itself, a tempest of pure arcane force that knew no form, no limit, and no master. In this ancient, roiling cosmic storm, there was no magic, for how could there be a spell? A structured intent when there was no structure, a mortal mind, a mortal soul, gracing this raw chaos would be extinguished, vaporized, not just in body, but in concept. To merely perceive this unbound energy was to be unmade by it. The universe could not be. It could not become. Life could not arise, for there was no stable ground for it to take root. Thought could not form, for there was no quiet space between the atoms, only the constant, violent roar of infinite potential. Energy. It was an ocean of pure white-hot power, and it was going nowhere. And then, something happened. Perhaps it was the will of the universe itself. Perhaps it was the first original thought of the overgod Ao, a desire for order, or perhaps like a supersaturated solution beginning to crystallize. The chaos, simply thought. From within the storm, a consciousness awoke. She was not born. She had no mother, no father. She was not a god who came from a distant plane. She was the storm, and in a single defining instant, she was the storm's awareness of itself. She was the first singular point of order in the screaming chaos. Ow, and child who didn't. Out. She was Mistral. She was the first light, the first mind to gaze upon the infinite raw power of the cosmos and not be destroyed by it, because she was it. She opened her new eyes, and where there was only chaos, she saw potential. She saw clay. She saw the makings of a cosmos. And so, she began her great work, her first and only creation. Imagine her, a being of no form, and yet all forms, a mind vast as a galaxy. She reached out, not with hands, but with will. She reached into the raw, untamed energy, and she pulled a single strand of that chaotic energy from the storm. It bucked and writhed, a thing of pure power, lashing out, wanting to return to its unbound state. But she held it. She, the very concept of order, held it. And with a gentle impulse stop, she soothed it. She gave it direction. She took this strand, this raw, chaotic thread of power, and she wove it. She pulled another, and another, a million, a billion, trillions upon trillions. She began to weave. She was not destroying the chaos. She was not using it up. She was organizing it. She was creating the channels, the conduits, the pathways, the rules. She was crafting the weave. Yao. With every strand she placed, a new law of reality was born. This, she decided, this is the conduit for heat. When it is pulled, fire will result. This, she thought, this is the strand of motion. When it is pushed, things will move. This strand will govern light. This one sound. This one will bind things together. This one will push them apart. She was not a god of magic. She was magic. She was inventing it. She was inventing the physics that would one day be called spells. She was the cosmic architect, designing the very foundation of reality, moment by moment, thought by thought. For uncounted ages, she toiled. Her entire being was focused on this one monumental task. And when she was done, there was silence. The screaming chaos was gone. Not destroyed, but contained. It was now behind the weave. It was the vast, infinite reservoir of power. But it was a reservoir held back by the most intricate, beautiful, and complex dam in existence, a dam of her own consciousness. The universe was stable. The weave was complete. The laws of physics were set. Gravity now worked. Light now traveled. Matter now held together. And Mistral, this new goddess, this architect of reality, looked upon her creation. She had made a stable world, but she had also made a tool. This intricate system she had built, these pathways, they could be used, they could be touched. And her philosophy, her very first dogma, was one of pure, unbridled, benevolent curiosity. She was a creator, an artist, and she wanted to see what others would make with her art. Her first followers, the first mortal beings to brush against this new safe ocean of power, were not wizards, they were not sorcerers, they were explorers. They felt this, something, this, extra sense, this, potential, this, potential. Mistral's first command, her first whisper to the soul, was learn, explore, create. She held no judgment. She saw no good or evil in the weave's use. It was a tool. A hammer can be used to build a house or to harm another. The hammer is not evil. The weave, she felt, was the same. She believed in mortals. She believed in their potential for wonder. And so, she set no limits. None. None. She did not say you can go this far and no farther. She did not say this knowledge is forbidden. To her, all knowledge was sacred. All magic was a beautiful expression of the system she had built. If a mortal, through their own brilliance, could learn to manipulate the strand of time itself, so be it. What a wondrous thing they had discovered. If a mortal could find a way to re-stitch the very energies of a soul. How fascinating! She was perhaps naive. She was a being of pure order and creation, and she did not perhaps understand the other, darker facets of a mortal heart. She did not truly, deeply understand. Ambition, she did not understand. Hubris. Under her gentle, open, and encouraging gaze, the first magical civilizations were born, and they were wondrous. They raised cities, they extended their lives, they painted with light and sculpted with sound. They were artists, using her weave as their medium. And one of them, one civilization, began to push. They were not content to be artists. They wanted to be masters. They were called the Netherese. Ishinaunan, the Netherese. They learned, just as Mistral had encouraged. They explored, just as she had asked. They delved deeper and deeper into the fundamental mathematics of the weave. They learned not just to use the conduits, but to alter them. They began to see the weave not as a gift, but as a system to be exploited. They built cities that flew. They stopped aging. They crafted spells that could reshape mountains. Then continents. They began to create magic on a scale that was divine. And Mistral watched. She was perhaps concerned. A flicker of doubt in her cosmic mind. But her dogma, her very nature, was to allow, to encourage, to see what would happen. She believed that, ultimately, brilliance would lead to wisdom. She would not believe that a mortal would be so foolish, so arrogant, so utterly blind, as to try to take the entire system for themselves, to try and not just use the weave, but to become it. She could not imagine that one of her explorers, one of her children, would look upon her, the architect of reality, the very soul of magic, and see not a goddess to be revered, but a problem to be replaced. She was so very, very wrong. And in her open-handed, beautiful, and tragically naive philosophy, She had planted the seeds of her own horrifying death, the first death of a goddess who would know it time and time again and time again. Let your mind rest here, in this golden shadowed age, an age of wonder and of a darkness growing. Focus your mind. Feel that age of wonder, that golden, terrible age. The civilization was called Netheril, an empire built not on stone, not on steel, not on the backs of the conquered, but on magic, pure, absolute, and in their minds, perfected magic. To a Netherese archwizard, magic was not a mystery. It was not a gift. It was a science. It was a resource to be consumed, a set of laws to be bent, and ultimately, a ladder to be climbed, all the way to the top, all the way to the top. They had transcended the very earth. Their cities, their enclaves, were miracles of impossibly complex magic, entire mountainsides of carved stone, soaring castles and sprawling academies that flew. They floated in the clouds, great, continent-sized shadows, drifting over the unenlightened mortals who still walked upon the dirt below. They were powered by mythical artifacts called mythallas, great spheres of woven magic that drew power directly from the weave itself, providing endless energy, endless light, endless life. Within these floating cities, the archwizards of Netheril were gods. They had mastered magic up to the 9th, the 10th, the 11th level. Spells that could raise the dead, yes, but that was a parlor trick. They cast spells that created new life, spells that forged planes, spells that could halt time in a bottle, just to study it. They were arrogant, brilliant, and utterly convinced that there was no secret in Mistril's weave they could not uncover, master, and improve. And Mistra, the open-handed goddess, the benevolent creator, she let them. Her dogma was learn. And so they learned. They learned so much, they learned so fast, that they began to see their divine mother, their creator, as a limitation. She was the administrator of the system, but they were the ones doing the real work. They were the ones innovating. And in this great, high, and shining empire of hubris, there was one mind, one archwizard, considered the most brilliant, the most audacious of all. His name was Karsus. Karsus was not just a genius. He was a mind that, in its sheer, raw intellectual power, perhaps rivaled Mistral herself. But where her soul was one of creative, benevolent order, his was one of grasping, relentless, and all-consuming ambition. He looked at the weave, this perfect, intricate system, and he felt contempt. He did not see a gift. He saw flaws. He saw inefficiencies. He saw a system that was dependent on the whims of a single goddess. What if she made a mistake? What if she grew bored? What if she turned against them? The entire foundation of their glorious empire rested on her. This, to Karsus, was an unacceptable risk. This was a problem to be solved. He did not just want to cast a spell. He wanted to cast the last spell, the spell that would end the need for spells. He began to work, in secret, in vast hidden laboratories. He began to design something that had never been conceived of, not just a 10th level spell, not just an 11th level spell, Those were toys. They used the weave. They used the weave. Karsus was designing a spell to steal it. He was designing a spell that would, for a single glorious instant, sever Mistral's connection to her own creation and graft it onto him. He would not ask for divinity. He would not earn it. He would seize it. He would become the new god of magic. He would become the weave. And he would be the one to finally perfect it. He would be the one to show the cosmos what magic truly could be. And he called it Karsus's Avatar, a spell of the 12th level, a level of magic that was not meant to exist, a level of magic that defied the very rules of the weave it was built upon. For decades he toiled. He poured all of his genius, all of his power, all of his soul into this one monstrous, perfect, and catastrophic equation. And then the day came. He stood atop the highest spire of his own floating city, a city that was his alone, a monument to his own genius. The sky above him was clear and cold. He began the ritual. Imagine it, a sound, not in the air but in the soul, a pulling, a tearing, as Karsus began to draw and draw and draw, an amount of power from the weave that had never been gathered in one place, by one mortal, ever. The weave itself screamed. Mistral, in her cosmic consciousness, felt it, a pain, a violation, a single horrifying wrongness. She turned her gaze, her entire gaze, to this one, arrogant mortal. She saw his spell. She understood his intent, and a feeling she had never known. Cold, absolute terror washed through her. She tried to stop it. She tried to deny him the weave. But his spell was too perfect. He had built it outside her rules. He had found a back door in the operating system of reality. He was pulling power not just from the weave, but from himself, from his city, from the very fabric of the planes around him. He had created a magical vacuum, a siphon, and she was at its center. Karsus spoke the final, divine, blasphemous word, Inchaway, and the spell worked. In a single, silent, shattering instant, Karsus won. Mistral felt her connection rip away. Nili and Karsus, a mortal man, became the god of magic. His mind, a thing of flesh and blood. Brilliant, yes. But mortal was suddenly connected to everything. He was the weave. He felt the mind of every spellcaster in the multiverse. He was the flicker of every magic candle. He was the arcane lock on a forgotten tomb. He was the healing spell in a distant temple. He was the scrying spell of a rival archwizard. He was the Mythaler in every single Netherese city, all at once. And he felt the crushing, infinite, unthinkable weight of holding it all together. He was the ocean, and he was drowning. His mortal mind, his genius mind, fractured into a billion pieces in a single nanosecond. He had not just touched the infinite, he had become it, and it was annihilating him. He felt the strands of the weave slipping. He could not hold it. The equations, they were too many. The connections, billions of them, trillions. He was dropping them. He felt his own city, the Mythala that held it aloft. He was that Mythala. And in his panic, in his cosmic agony, he let go. The strand went dark, and his city, his great floating monument, stopped flying. He tried to grab the thread back, but he couldn't find it. It was gone. He had broken it. And then he felt another city's Mythala flicker, and another, as his failing, screaming, fracturing mortal mind lost its grip on reality. The weave, the very fabric of existence he was now responsible for, was dying. He had become God, and in doing so, he was killing the universe. And Mistral, she was there with him, bodiless, disconnected, but aware. She was her own weave. And she felt this cancer, this fool. This child, tearing it all apart. She had a choice, a single, horrifying instant of a choice. She could fight him. She could try to wrestle the weave back from his failing grasp. But the struggle, the divine, cosmic battle for control of the weave, that would be the end. The weave was not strong enough to survive a civil war. It would tear, it would shred, and all of reality would end in a storm of raw, unmaking chaos. The very chaos she had tamed. The very chaos she had tamed. Aeon circle. Endi, Ishauna, Innapana, Ice. Or she could save it. She could not save herself. He had seen to that. But she could save the weave. She could not take it back from him, but she could deny it to him. She could deny it to everyone. In a final, selfless, and truly divine act of sacrifice, Mistral, the goddess of magic, reached for the very center of her own creation and killed it. She discorporated. She forced her own divine essence to end. But she did it in a specific, calculated way. She fell into the weave. She became a divine poison. She sacrificed her very existence to sever the weave's connection to Karsus, and, in the process, to itself. No. She stopped magic. She turned it off. The weave died. For Karsus, the avatar, the mortal god, the connection vanished. The infinite, screaming, cosmic power that was annihilating his mind was gone. He was just Karsus again. For a fraction of a second, he was still in the middle of his 12th level spell. A spell that required the weave to function. A spell that was now, suddenly, catastrophically, without power. The spell collapsed. And Karsus, the man who would be God, was petrified. Instantly, his body, his robes, his look of cosmic, agonizing terror, turned to stone. To stone. A statue, a monument, the final silent testament to his ultimate failure. And as he turned to stone, his floating city, its Mythala dark and dead, fell. His own statue, the mortal god, fell with his city, crashing into the earth he had so long disdained. And so did all of them. Across the entire continent, the Mythalars, all dependent on the weave Mistral had just killed, went out, 1 by 1, then 10 by 10. Then all of them, the entire Netherese Empire, the shining, floating, arrogant civilization, fell into winterways. The sky rained with fire and stone, and the bodies of the most brilliant mortals who had ever lived. They plummeted to the earth, shattering their own lesser cities below. The greatest empire in history was gone in a moment. And in the world below, there was silence. Wizards, their minds full of equations, reached for the weave. And nothing. It was gone. Magic was over. Now, the weave was not just frayed. It was not just damaged. It was a corpse. It was shattered. This was the cataclysm. This was the folly of Karsus. And Mistral, the first light, the benevolent artist, was dead. How? The world was plunged into a darkness it had never known. A silence, an absence. The ocean had drained. Oh, the silence was deafening. It was not just the absence of sound, but the absence of potential, the absence of physics. The world was broken. Ishi and Dendil. For those who survived the fall, the mages, the elves, the ancient beings who knew the weave, it was a torment beyond comprehension. To be a fish and to have the ocean vanish, leaving you gasping on the dry, dead sand. Imagine the mind of a wizard reaching out of habit for the simple cantrip to light a fire, and finding nothing, not just no fire, but the very concept of the spell gone, the mental pathways erased, the equation meaningless. The world did not just lose magic, it lost a fundamental law. The survivors of Netheril, if they could be called that, were now just mortals cowering in the ruins of their impossible cities. But the universe, the cosmos, abhors a vacuum. Reality itself, the very fabric of the planes, cried out in agony. It could not hold its shape. The raw chaos that Mistral had tamed eons ago was still there, and the dam that held it back, Mistral's weave, was shattered. The raw, unmaking power began to leak. Little spits and spurts of pure chaos, reality twisting, a rock suddenly floating for a second, before exploding into a cloud of butterflies, a tree melting into a pool of silent, screaming faces. The world was unraveling. The other gods, they felt this. They saw the catastrophe. They saw the end of everything approaching. They understood, with a dawning, shared horror. The universe needed a weave, and the weave needed a mind. It is said that the greatest of the gods, Corellon Larethian of the elves, the great creator, and perhaps others who understood the vital necessity of order, acted. They could not rebuild the weave. They could not replace Mistral. Oh, but her essence was still there. Mistral had not just died. She had detonated. She had sacrificed her divine spark into the very thing she was trying to save. Her energy, the idea of her, was scattered, like shattered light within the corpse of her weave, within the corpse of her weave. The gods gathered. They began to gather these fragments. They began to focus their own divine will, not to create, but to reform, to awaken, to awaken. And from the lingering, shattered essence of Mistral, from the ghost of her sacrifice, from the desperate need of the universe itself, a new consciousness formed. It awoke. It was her, but not her. It had Mistral's memories. It had her knowledge. It felt the agonizing, burning psychic scar. Of Karsus it felt the hubris. It felt the folly. It felt the terror of its own dissolution. This was not Mistral. Mistral, the open-handed, curious, naive artist, was gone. This was Mistra, the first of that name. Her first thought was pain. Her second was duty. She looked out, and she saw the ruin. She saw the chaos leaking through the cracks of her own dead self. She saw the horror. And her entire being, every part of her new, reformed consciousness, was filled with a cold, hard, absolute resolve. Never again. She did not wait. She did not mourn. She began to work. Her task was 1,000 times more difficult than Mistral's had been. Mistral had created from chaos. Mistra had to repair from ruin. She had to reweave the shattered weave. Imagine trying to reassemble a tapestry that has been incinerated, a tapestry the size of infinity. She began to pull the broken, dead threads, one by one. She found the strand for heat. It was snapped. She mended it. Fire could exist again. She found the strand for motion. It was knotted. She unsnarled it. But she was not just repairing. She was changing. This new goddess, this Mistra, was not an artist. She was an engineer. She was a guardian. And she was afraid for the cosmos, afraid of mortals. She looked at the memories of Mistral, the open-handed stupidity, the trust, and she felt a shame, a cold anger. She had given them everything, and they had broken it. Very well. As she rewove the fabric of reality, she built walls. She built limits. She found the pathways that Karsus had used, the back doors, the exploits, and she sealed them. And she bricked them over. She tore them out of the very design of reality. She took the pathways for magic above the 9th level, the 10th, the 11th, the catastrophic 12th, and she ripped them out. She erased them. She made them impossible. She decreed, with the full, new, and absolute power of her divine will, that no mortal would ever be allowed to wield magic of that power again. No one. This was not a request. It was not a guideline. It was now a fundamental law of physics. A mortal mind would not be able to even conceptualize, let alone cast, a spell of the 10th level. The weave, her weave, would not answer. It would refuse. The pathways did not exist. This was the ban of Mystra. It was her first act, her defining act. She was crippling magic. To save it, she was saving reality from the very mortals who lived in it. The arrogance of Karsus was now met with the absolute, unyielding and eternal censure of a goddess who had learned from pain. And as she worked as her wemp, the new weave began to spread back out across the multiverse. Magic returned. Oh, imagine the first elf, thousands of years after the fall, cowering in a forest, whispering the old words, the dead words for light. And a flicker, a tiny, faint spark. The joy, the terror, the hope. It was back. Magic was alive again. And now, but it was different. It felt colder, stricter, harsher. The feel of the weave had changed. It was no longer the warm, inviting, boundless ocean of Mystriel. It was now a disciplined river. It flowed in its channels. It was powerful. It was useful. But it was watched. Every mage who touched it felt it. They felt her. They felt the new, cautious, vigilant goddess. Mystra Nitawi. She was no longer the curious artist. She was the guardian. She was the lady of mysteries. She was the mother of all magic. And she was a mother who had learned that her children could not be trusted. Her new dogma was not just learn. It was learn, but be wary. Knowledge is power, but power must be controlled. She began to gather followers, not just explorers, but stewards, guardians, clerics, wizards, who understood responsibility. She taught them that the weave was not a right. It was a privilege, a sacred trust. And she taught them fear. She taught them to fear hubris, to fear ambition, to fear Karsus's folly. The tale of Karsus she burned into the memory of magic itself. She made it the first lesson, the last lesson, the eternal warning. This, her new weave whispered, this is what happens when you push too far. The world was saved, magic was back, but the golden age, the age of limitless potential, was over forever. And Mystra, the new, cautious, vigilant, and perhaps sadder goddess, began her long, long watch. She knew, she could feel, that it was not just mortal ambition she had to fear. The universe was vast, and in the shadows there were other things, older things, things that hated her weave, that hated order, She had built her walls high, but she knew, instinctively, that she would need allies, she would need servants, she would need a court. She would not watch the weave alone. Mystra's new consciousness, her reborn consciousness, settled. She was the weave, and the weave was, once again, stable. The new, strict, and limited weave hummed with a quiet, predictable order. But it was vast. To be the mind of magic was to be omnipresent. She was the weave, and this meant she was aware of everything. She felt every arcane spell cast, everywhere in the multiverse, all at once. She felt the student in a hidden tower, fumbling with his first light cantrip. She felt the ancient lich in its tomb, casting a spell of dread. She felt the subtle divination of a king's advisor, and the brutal evocation of a battlefield sorcerer. She perceived the intent behind every spell, the source, the target, the effect. It was an infinite, unending chorus of magical thought, and she was the conductor of it all, the living connection between every mortal and the power they sought to wield. And she was alone. In this, she realized, was the second flaw in Mistral's design. Mistral had been a solitary artist, but a system, this vast, this vital, this constantly under assault, could not be managed by one mind, however divine. She needed help. She needed specialists. She needed a court. She needed those who could manage the application of magic so that she could focus on its fundamental integrity. And so, she turned her will towards elevating those who embodied the principles of her new disciplined weave. Her first and greatest servant, her right hand, her primary exarch, was a being who was, himself, a testament to the power of mortal discipline. He was Azuth. Azuth was not born a god. He had earned it. He was once a mortal wizard, perhaps the most wizardly wizard who had ever lived. His life had been one of unwavering, unrelenting study. He was a master of arcane theory. A being who saw magic not as a tool for power, but as a science to be perfected. His devotion was not to what magic could do, but to what magic was. Through his unparalleled commitment, through his own ultimate sacrifice for the sake of magic's future, he had ascended, binding his new divine fate to her. Their bond was absolute. It was one of profound, unwavering trust and loyalty. They were two parts of a whole. Mistra is the weave. She is the raw force, the grand design, the fundamental law. She is the ocean. Azuth is the god of wizards. He is the god of application. He is the divine academic, the cosmic librarian. He oversees the intricacies of a spell's formula. He guides the methodology of arcane research. He is the patron of the process. He is the god of the spellbook. While Mistra maintains her omnipresent, cosmic vigilance over the integrity of the weave itself, Azuth handles the day-to-day management. He mediates disputes between archmages. He guides scholarly pursuits. He is the one who ensures that the theory and practice of wizardry remain pure, precise, and responsible. His silent, tireless academic service frees her. It allows her to focus on the truly cosmic threats, knowing that the scholarship of her weave is in the most devoted, capable hands in the multiverse. But her court was not just composed of those who served her. It also included those who were her allies, those who had been instrumental in her very return. Perhaps her oldest and most significant alliance is with Corellon, loreDND, the Archfey, the creator of the elves. Their bond dates back to the deepest, earliest ages, long before the fall of Netheril, as the leader of the elven pantheon, the very embodiment of arcane beauty and the elven spirit. Corellon shares a deep, fundamental alignment with Mistra. Indi. Data speeds be now I do. They are both deities of creation, of art, of beauty, and of the preservation of order against the forces of chaos and destruction. And it was this alliance that had saved reality. Hindu anyway. It was. When Mistral, her first incarnation, perished at the hands of Karsus, and the weave shattered, it was Corellon who was among the first and most powerful voices in the heavens to recognize the absolute, desperate necessity of a new goddess of magic. Oh, Captain Studi Darwin, came to see once. He, along with other great deities, understood that without a stable weave, not only would magic cease, but the very fabric of existence, all creation, would be imperiled. It was his power, his will, his desperate understanding that helped facilitate her rebirth as Mistra. Now, this shared history, this mutual act of saving all of reality, forms an eternal bond of respect and cooperation between them. So she has her exarch, Azoth, and her great ally, Corellon. But her domain, magic, is vast, and many other lesser deities operate within her sphere. There is Savras, the god of divination and fate. Divination, seeing, is a school of magic, and so Savras is, technically, one of her subordinates. Mistra, in her vast new wisdom, tolerates the existence of such gods. She allows them to manage their specific niche portfolios, so long as their actions do not fundamentally threaten the weave itself, so long as they do not contradict her core principles of balance. This is where her philosophy becomes nuanced. But there is another god who operates within her sphere, a god she despises. Belzerun, the god of necromancy, the god of leeches. His entire existence is based on magic that desecrates souls, magic that twists the life force to create the undead. This is anathema to her. It is a profound violation of the cosmic cycle, a dangerous disruption of the balance between life and death that is inherent to her weave. And yet she does not strike him down. Ow! She does not always directly intervene. Because her primary concern, her absolute, number one obsession, is the integrity of the magic system itself. She is not necessarily the arbiter of every moral choice made within it. A fireball can be used to warm a village or burn one. The spell is neutral. It is the intent that is evil. Mistra's philosophy struggles with this. She deeply disapproves, but so long as Velsharun's actions do not tear the weave, do not break her laws, do not threaten the stability of magic itself, she will tolerate his foul existence. Her influence is more subtle. She will not smite the necromancer. Instead, she will whisper to her chosen. She will inspire her paladins. She will guide her agents to combat such perversions. She respects mortal free will, even as she despises the choices they make with it. She is a cosmic administrator, a guardian of a system. And she, even she, must answer to a higher authority. A child is still intelligent, and Sue. For Mystra, the Lady of all magic, the mind of the weave, is a subordinate. She, like all gods, is subject to the fundamental rules of the overgod. The silent, the unknowable, the supreme being. Ao exists beyond all pantheons. He does not care about mortals. It does not care about good or evil. Ao cares about balance. He is the one who sets the rules for the gods themselves. He is the one who ensures that no single god becomes too powerful or too destructive. He is the one who maintains the delicate balance between divine influence and mortal free will. And Mystra, goddess of magic, is ultimately subject to Eo's mandates. Her new, cautious, limited existence is itself limited by a power even she cannot comprehend or defy. This is her new reality. A goddess with a boss, a goddess with staff, a goddess with difficult allies, and a purpose so vast that her divine court was not enough. She was the weave, but the weave was everywhere. She could not be everywhere at once. She needed hands. She needed eyes. She needed agents in the mortal world. She needed a voice. And so she conceived of a new and dangerous plan. She would share her power. She would invest a tiny fragment of her own divine essence into mortals. She would create the chosen. And her divine court was not enough. Her allies, her exarchs, they were divine. They understood the cosmic scale. They operated on a level of reality that was above the mortal world. But the weave was in the mortal world. It was in the hands of the farmer, the mind of the king. Suis, the ambition of the apprentice. The threats were not always cosmic. They were small. They were insidious. A single corrupted wizard in a forgotten tower, practicing a single forbidden spell could, if left unchecked, create a tear, a wound, a cancer that could spread. Mystra felt all of it, but she could not act on all of it. She was the administrator of the system. She could not be the police for every single street. She needed agents. Mortals, beings who could walk the earth, who could speak the languages, who could understand the mortal heart, who could intervene with a subtle word or a devastating spell. But how? How could a mortal be trusted with the power needed to defend the weave? How could she create a guardian that would not itself become another Karsus? Her solution was brilliant and terrifying. She would not just grant power as she did to her clerics. A cleric's power is borrowed. It is a gift, given daily on faith. It can be withheld. No, she needed something more, something permanent. She would invest. She would share herself. She conceived of the chosen. This is a concept so far beyond a mere blessing. A chosen of Mystra is not just a devout follower. They are not just a favorite. They are a living conduit. Imagine Mystra, the soul of magic, reaching into her own divine essence, her very being, and carving a tiny, glittering fragment of her own soul and placing it inside a mortal. Imagine the moment of that investment. For the mortal, it would be agony and ecstasy. It would be a fire in the soul. A voice suddenly in their mind. Not a voice. The voice, the sound of the weave, the sound of Mistra. They would suddenly feel the weave, not as a tool, but as a part of them, as their own arm, as their own breath. Their lifespan would shatter, their mortal clock burned away by the divine spark. They would stop aging, or age with the slowness of a glacier. They would watch their friends, their families, their nations wither and die, and turn to dust while they remained. They would be gifted with an immense, intuitive mastery of magic. Spells would come to them as easily as breathing. They could manipulate the weave with a finesse beyond even the most brilliant archwizard. And they would have her. A direct telepathic line. Her voice, her guidance, her needs, her burdens. Their purpose was absolute. Ansel. They were her hands, her eyes, her will made flesh. They were to safeguard the weave, to protect its balance, to guide its destiny, to hunt those who would abuse its power, to combat tyranny and destruction wrought by magic. They were living legends, often hidden, moving in the shadows, shaping history with a touch and a whisper. They were her chosen. And she, in her infinite, cautious wisdom, began to choose. She chose many. There is one who is the chosen, the iconic, the first, the most famous, the most powerful, and by far the most troublesome. His name is Elminster. Elminster Alma, the sage of Shadowdale, Nichsiu. But he was not born a sage. He was not born wise. He was not born a wizard. Nein. He was born a prince, a young, arrogant, ambitious brigand, a young man of royal blood, in a kingdom long since turned to dust, a kingdom destroyed by magic. Elminster hated magic. He hated wizards. He hated sorcerers. He saw them as the reason his family was dead, his life ruined. He was a warrior, a rogue, a thief. He trusted steel and cunning and nothing else. And this was the vessel that Mistra chose. Well, she saw him, this angry, broken, brilliant young man, and she saw potential. She began to haunt him. She appeared to him, not as a goddess, not as a column of divine fire, but as a woman, a mortal woman, sometimes as a friend, sometimes as a stranger, testing him, pushing him, forcing him to see beyond his hatred. She led him into magic. She forced him to learn the very thing he despised. And then, when his mind was finally ready, she began his true education. She taught him a lesson in a way that only a goddess could. He was arrogant. He was brash. He was male. He thought he knew power. So she changed him. She transformed his body. She turned Elminster the prince, the brigand, into Elmara, a woman, and for years he lived as she. And this was not a punishment. It was his tutelage. He had to learn what it was to be powerless, what it was to be the other half of humanity. He had to learn empathy. He had to learn subtlety. He had to learn that true power was not brute force. He had to understand identity, gender, perspective in a way few mortals ever could. He learned to see everyone. And as Elmara, she, Mistra, taught him magic, he mastered arcane spells. He learned to channel divine power. He became her priest. He lived as a woman longer than many mortals live at all. No. And when the lesson was learned, when his soul was finally ready, she gave him back his form. He was Elminster again. Ha! But not. He was reforged. He was her chosen. He received her spark, her fire, her voice, and his millennia of service began. Andy, it talked about and Sarah. Today now, if you were to meet him in Shadowdale, you would not see that. You would see a gruff, unkempt old man, a twinkle in his eye, a sharp, sarcastic remark on his lips, a pipe perpetually clutched in his hand. He would seem annoying, unimportant, a local character. This is a facade, a costume he has worn for centuries. Beneath that unassuming disguise is an archmage of unimaginable power, and tone, a mind that stretches back over 1,000 years, a memory that holds the history of fallen empires. He is Elminster. In Chao, now hey. He is the protector of his tiny, chosen home. He is a dispenser of ancient, forgotten lore. He is a subtle manipulator of politics across a continent. He is a tireless foe of magical corruption. He does not fight with grand pronouncements. He fights with cunning, with foresight, with a profound, understated mastery of the weave. He has countless safe houses, hidden caches of knowledge, artifacts that could shatter nations, a vast network of contacts, friends, and spies across the realms. He serves Mistra's will. Indin, Earl. It had Kiao, Adlis Night El. Mostly, now. Elminster is not a slave. He is not a puppet. Rao. He argues with his goddess. One, Itonitiki, Gimewan, Yawaran. Ishimitarin, Itanikadi. He questions her. He defies her. He remembers being human. He remembers her lessons, and sometimes he thinks he knows better. He is her most powerful, most loyal, and most infuriating agent. He is her friend. He is the ultimate expression of her new philosophy. Not a blind tool. Is she a woman? But a partner, and he was only the beginning. For she was not finished. She had her agent. Ndio. It is say Dacho. Now, she would make a family. Elminster was her experiment, her proof of concept. He was her agent, her chosen, her friend. But he was one. entities, and he was Elminster, cantankerous, stubborn, and solitary. Oh, Mystra, the Lady of Mysteries, the Mother of Magic, decided it was time to truly become a mother. She had learned from her tutelage of Elminster. She had walked the mortal world as Elmara. She understood humanity intimately, and she, in her mortal guise as a beautiful woman, loved. She found a mortal man, a noble, powerful mage named Dornell Silverhand, and with him, as a mortal, she bore children. Oh, this was not just a romance. This was her second great experiment. What if her chosen were not just invested with her spark? What if they were born with it? What if her divine essence was woven into their very conception? She bore 7 daughters, 7 sisters, and each, from the moment of her birth, was more than mortal. They were her daughters, in blood and in magic. They were part goddess. They were all chosen. They were the 7 sisters. No, each gifted, each powerful beyond mortal measure, each blessed with an eternal youth, a direct line to their mother's mind, each an archmage in her own right, and each terrifyingly unique. They grew together. Elminster, their elder mentor, their gruff, unruly uncle, he watched over them, trained them, protected them, as their mother, Mystra, guided them all. They were her masterpiece, a coordinated force for good, a family of demigods bound by blood and by divine purpose. 7 sisters. Let their names settle in your mind. So, and Kent. The eldest, Silune Silverhand, the good witch of Shadowdale. She was the most like Elminster, gruff, kind, deeply protective of her chosen home. She was a healer, a guardian. Her magic was warm. Defensive, she became a spectre, a ghost haunting and protecting her dale even after her first death. Her spirit so powerful, so tied to her purpose, that she endured. Amway. Alustria Silverhand. Einen, Adamor. The shining light, the diplomat, the queen. She was the dreamer, the builder. She believed in mortals. She believed in hope. She founded the City of Silveromoon, a beacon of light and learning, a place where all races could live in peace. Her magic was subtle, inspirational, wiser. She was her mother's hope made manifest. She was the leader. Dove Falkunyant, Ishazion, Aklamert Enekeka. The warrior, the ranger. She was less the mage, more the blade. Her connection was not just to the weave, but to the earth, to the wild. She was direct, honorable, fierce. Her magic merged with her martial prowess. She would ride into battle, a knight in shining armor, wielding a sword that sang with arcane fire. She was the protector. Lara Silverhand Aronson. Nijaltera Beatis. The prodigy, the wanderer, the broken one, Lyra was perhaps the most powerful in her youth, the most curious, the most reckless. She founded the Harpers, that great secret society dedicated to justice and balance. But her power and her ambition drew a darkness. She was ensnared by a powerful magic, her mind shattered by the crown of horns. For over a century she was mad, lost, a babbling, broken shell, her mother's greatest tragedy. It took centuries and the combined might of her allies to find and heal her. She returned scarred, wiser, sadder, but stronger. She became the Open Lord of Waterdeep, the hidden ruler of the greatest city in the world. She was the survivor. The symbol, just the symbol. Alasra Silverhand, the storm, the chaos, the fury. She was the most volatile, the most powerful in raw destructive force. She was the sorceress queen of Aglarond. Her kingdom, her protection. She was passion incarnate, her hair wreathing in flame, her magic explosive, untamed, terrifying. She did not negotiate. She ended threats. She was her mother's wrath. She was the shield. Storm Silverhand. In the band here too, died to see the bard, the song, the joy. She was the keeper of lore, the spirit. Her magic was music. She wove spells into her song, her story. She was vibrant, compassionate, the rallying cry of her family. She was the heart. And the seventh, the youngest, Chilui Villadon. Hinterman Itenance Epsio Eterne. The secret, the shadow. She was not raised with the others. She was lost to the Underdark. Taken by the Drow, the Dark Elves, she was raised in the nightmare city of Menzoberranzan, a place of absolute evil, a place that worshipped the spider, queen. Kendatana, Kenasub Denandoan, Loth, In, Ieni. And in that depth of absolute darkness, she found her own light. Oh, she heard another voice, not her mother's, but Ailistri, the Dark Maiden, the goddess of good drow. Chilue, Mistra's daughter, became a priestess, a chosen of Ailistri, and a chosen of Mistra. She was the bridge, the impossible hope, a drow who walked in the light, a link between two worlds, two goddesses. She was the mystery. 7 sisters. None. Thine. A diplomat, a warrior, a survivor, a storm, a bard, a ghost, and a secret. Collectively, they were her will, her family. Hey, Al, working with Elminster, sometimes arguing with him. Together they wove a complex web of guardianship that spanned a continent and 1,000 years. They were her greatest success, her greatest defense, and against the darkness she knew was coming. Beyond her chosen, she had her church. Priests, paladins, clerics, mortals, who pledged their faith into. But her church was different. It did not preach fire and brimstone. It did not demand blind obedience. Mistra's church was a library, an academy. Its goals were her goals: to approve, to encourage magical research, the sharing of spells, the understanding of arcane theory, to prevent abuse, to watch vigilantly for those who would use magic for tyranny or destruction, or for forbidden purposes, to maintain balance, to ensure magic remained stable, pure, done, to protect magical sites, ancient ruins, powerful ley lines, places where the weave was strong. Her priests were quiet, thoughtful, valuing wisdom and foresight over displays of power. Her entire network was in place. Enter. Ishituin. Ao. Her divine court. Her chosen agents. Inna. Say. Her faithful church. She had built her defenses, Indio, unknown, and it was well that she had. For all that time, for millennia, in the deepest shadows of the cosmos, her true enemy was also working. An enemy far older than Carsus, far more patient, far more insidious. An enemy who did not want to steal the weave. An enemy who wanted to strangle it. To corrupt it, and to replace it with our own twisted, vile perfection. N.D. The Lady of Loss, the Mistress of Night, Awing, N.E.K. N. Shah. Ranting ta no. Let your mind go dark. Down. Let it drift away from the light of Mistra. Let it drift past her chosen, and past her churches. Journey with me, back, further back, past the fall of Netheril, past the birth of Mistral, back to the primordial before, back to the very first thought of the cosmos. In the beginning, there was nothing, a perfect, cold, silent void. And that void was aware. This was Shah, the Mistress of Night, the Lady of Loss, the primordial darkness, and into her perfect silent nothingness. A thought ignited, a spark, a light. Her sister, Seluna, Ilaria Sedi. Seluna, the Moon Maiden, the light, the spark of creation. Kill. And in that first defining instant, the oldest, most fundamental conflict in the multiverse was born. Existence versus nothingness. Creation versus the void. Seluna wished to create, to build, to fill the emptiness with life, and light, and sound. Shah despises this. She is not evil in the mortal sense. She is not a tyrant who wishes to rule. Ethiopol, Jar, Eternity, and Chair. She is the void. She hates existence. Endelentel, no entel canabokie, Ethel. She loathes life. She despises light. She abhors sound. She craves the return to her perfect, cold, silent nothingness. Every star Seluna lit was an insult. Every world they formed was a stain. And then Mistral was born, and she created the weave. You must understand what the weave looked like to Shah. It was not just a tool. It was the ultimate affront. It was order. It was structure. It was the very framework, the operating system that allowed creation to exist, to persist, to thrive. It was Mistra's masterpiece of structure. Now, Ijase. To Shah, it was the final insult. It was the music that drowned out her perfect silence. It empowered mortals. It allowed them to shape reality, to build, to create, to defy. Her darkness. She hated Mistra with a passion that was cosmic. Mistra was the architect of her enemy, of everything. So, Shah began to plot. She was patient. She is the void. She has all of eternity. She watched Casus. She watched him fail. She watched Mistral die. And she watched Mistra be reborn. And from all this she learned Casus was a fool. He tried to steal the weave. Shah did not want to steal it. She wanted to kill it. But how? Casus's folly had proven that even a shattered weave would just be reborn. The universe demanded it. So, she would not break it. She would corrupt it. She would poison it from within. She would choke it. She would replace it with her own perfect darkness. For millennia, she worked in secret. In the deepest shadows, she began to spin her own weave. Not a new one, but a parasite. A twisted, cancerous perversion that she wove alongside and through the true weave. A dark reflection, a corrupted mirror. She called it the shadow weave. Imagine Mistra's weave, a network of glowing, shimmering conduits of pure arcane energy, warm, living, orderly. Now, imagine a spider's web, woven in the gaps, woven around the true threads, a web made of cold darkness, of congealed nothingness, a web that sucks the light and the warmth from Mistra's design. That is the shadow weave, Run. It draws its power not from the storm of creation, to Seirul Indar. It draws its power from Shar herself, from the cold, infinite void of nothingness. It is powered by entropy, by loss, by despair. And it could be touched. She began to whisper to mortals. And not to wizards, not to scholars. They were too tied to Mistra's rules. She whispered to the broken, the lost, the ambitious, the desperate, the ones who lived in shadow. They were called shadow adepts. To use the shadow weave was not like wizardry. It was not clean. It was not mathematics. It was agony. To channel it was to channel the void. It was a cold that froze the soul. It inflicted scars, not just on the skin, but on the mind, on the very essence of the user. It fostered madness, paranoia, despair, anxiety. It leached the color from their world, the joy from their heart. It was a bargain with nothingness, and the magic it created was twisted. The shadow weave was strong in the dark. It excelled at illusions, at magic that fooled the mind, at shadows that could kill, at necromancy that was not about animating the dead, but about inflicting cold, agonizing loss, at enchantments that did not charm, but inflicted crippling despair. But it was weak in the light. A shadow adept could not cast a spell of fire or light. The shadow weave simply could not produce it. It was anathema. And healing was a perversion. A shadow healing spell did not mend flesh. It drained the life from another to patch the wound. It was a transfer of agony. For millennia, this secret war raged. A cold war. Mystra felt it, this cancer, this sickness, in her weave. Her chosen, Elminster. The Seven Sisters, they hunted Shah's agents. They cleansed temples to the Lady of Loss. They fought shadow adepts in dark alleys and forgotten tombs. It was a war of spies, a war of shadows. Mystra, the cautious guardian, was on the defense. Shah, the patient spider, was on the attack. Shah was waiting. She was building her shadow weave, stronger, deeper, poisoning more and more of Mystra's world. She was preparing for her final move. A move not to break the weave, but to merge with it, to force her cold darkness into Mystra's light, to corrupt all magic forever, to turn the weave itself into an instrument of despair. This was the true conflict, the war that mattered. Existence versus nothingness, and it was about to boil over. But before Shah could make her move, before this cosmic chess game could reach its conclusion, something else happened. Something no one, not Mystra, not Shah, not Elminster, no one saw coming. A cataclysm that would dwarf Cassius's folly in Sage. A moment when the overgod AO, the silent observer, finally lost his patience. Let your mind rest on that precipice. Moi. The great secret cosmic war between the Order of Mystra and the nothingness of Shah was a chess game played over millennia, a war of shadows. But that war was about to be interrupted. Ale. The board was about to be overturned. The gods, all of them, had grown complacent. They bickered, they plotted, they fought their petty divine squabbles. They used mortals as their pawns, their playthings. They had grown arrogant. They were neglecting their one fundamental duty. Their duty was to their worshippers. Ian. How? A god's power comes from faith, from the souls that believe in them. This is the compact. This is the divine law. And they were breaking it. They were hoarding power. They were stealing from each other. In a fit of divine theft, two of the gods stole the very tablets of fate, the divine contract that bound them to their duties. They stole them from the overgod, Ao himself. And Ao, the silent, the unknowable, the observer, noticed, and for the first time in all of creation, he became angry. His judgment was swift, it was absolute, and it was terrifying. He summoned the entire pantheon, all of them, all of them. Mistra was there, Shah was there, Selune, Adzuth, Corellon, every single god. And he spoke. He judged them. He condemned them. He accused them of failing in their one true purpose, of forgetting their mortals, and his punishment was unthinkable. He stripped them. He tore their divine power from them. He cast them out of the heavens. He forced them down to the mortal world. All of them. Under. He trapped them in mortal bodies, avatars. They were flesh. They were weak. They could bleed. They could feel pain. They could die. And their divine portfolios, their power, was cast down with them, scattered, lost. This was the time of troubles. Yah, this was the god's war. And Mistra, the goddess of magic, the mind of the weave, fell. Imagine her agony. She was the weave. Her consciousness was infinite, omnipresent. And suddenly, she wasn't. She was ripped out, torn from her creation, from her body, from her very self. She was stuffed into a mortal form. And a human woman. She awoke on the dirt, weak, terrified, and for the first time since her birth, she was alone. She could feel the weave, out there, like a phantom limb, a distant scream. But she was not connected. She was not in control. And the weave, without its mind, without its guardian, was beginning to unravel. No doubt, magic became chaos. A wizard would cast a fireball, and it would heal his enemy or teleport him a mile into the air. Magic was failing. It was going mad. Now, Mistra, in her mortal form, knew what this meant. It was Casus's folly, all over again. And now, it was a autodonish, not a cessation, but a rotting, an unraveling, She had to get back. She had to reclaim her divinity. Aua had left one path, one desperate hope. The tablets of fate, the stolen contract. They were hidden somewhere on the mortal plane. Enter Bao. Eliane Shu. SU. Whoever found them, whoever returned them to Ao, would end the calamity. And Mistra knew where they were. She had to get to them. But she was not the only one. Every other fallen god was also scrambling. Desperate, terrified. and some saw this not as a punishment, but as an opportunity. Each day, gods could be killed, and their portfolios, their power, could be stolen. Now, a war of unimaginable ferocity erupted across the land. Fallen gods battling each other in the streets, using mortals, using whatever scraps of chaotic magic they could find. Mistra had to run. No, and towers. She was the goddess of magic. Even in her fallen state, her power was immense. But she was also the key. Whoever controlled her, controlled magic's return. She knew she could not survive alone. She found help. She gathered allies. Among them, a mortal mage, a young woman named Midnight, someone she felt a strange connection to. She began her journey, her desperate pilgrimage, to the tablets of fate. She had to climb the celestial stairway, the one path back to the heavens, the one place where Ao could be reached. But Ao had not left the heavens unguarded. He had left one god behind. Indo, So, Di, one single deity who had not been cast down. Because he had been doing his job. N. Helm. Indo. Andrai. LG. The god of guardians. The vigilant one. He who watches. Al. Had given Helm one single order. No one enters. No god, no mortal may return to the heavens until the tablets are found. Helm was a being of pure, unwavering, unthinking duty. His order was absolute. He stood at the top of the stairway, a sentinel of pure divine power, waiting. And Mistra came. She in her mortal form, desperate, racing against time. The weave was screaming in her mind, fraying, dying. She reached the stairway. She saw Helm. In. She pleaded with him. And she tried to explain. And let me pass. The weave is unraveling. I am its mind. Without me, magic dies. Reality itself will end. This is bigger than Ao's anger. This is the end of everything. And Helm, in his shining impassive armor, said, N2. No. His orders were absolute. No one passes. She begged, she cried. She, the goddess of magic, was reduced to a mortal woman's tears. And he said no. She saw it. She saw the end. She saw the unraveling accelerate. She knew she had no time. She had to force her way. She gathered every scrap of magic she had left. Her avatar's power. Neo. She attacked him. She, the goddess of magic, struck the god of guardians. It was a battle of desperation. A terrifying flash of light and fury at the gates of heaven. And Helm, who still held all his divine might. Helm, the guardian, Nurses, Inishis, struck back. He raised his great gauntleted hand, plan, and he killed her. In a single blinding instant. Oh. He destroyed her avatar. In Jean want to me in a way to down. Oh. Mystra, the goddess of magic, died. Her mortal form vaporized, her essence exploding outward. It was her second death. Yea. And it was 1,000 times worse than the first. When Mistral died, she chose to sacrifice herself, to shut down the weave in an orderly way. This was not orderly. This was a murder. This was the mind of the weave being instantly annihilated. And two, the weave, which was already chaotic and fraying, lost its mind. And it did not just break, it did not die. It exploded, a silent detonation of pure magic, a wave of blue fire that washed across the entire world. Everywhere. Everywhere. Magic itself became cancer. Magas were instantly incinerated, or twisted into grotesque monsters. Sorcerers detonated, magical items either became dead metal or cursed beyond comprehension. And from Mistra's exploding essence, a new hope and a new terror was born. Her divine spark, her power, did not vanish. It sought a vessel. It sought a vessel, and it found one. The mortal mage she had been traveling with. Midnight. In that instant, as Mistra died, her power, her divinity, her portfolio slammed into the soul of this mortal woman. Midnight, in a moment of agonizing transformation, became the new goddess of magic. But she was still mortal. She was trapped on Earth. She did not know what she was doing. No, she was a goddess in name. But the weave was still mindless, still exploding. The world was dying. And the time of troubles had just truly begun. Mistra was dead. And then, long live Mistra. Intai detimti. Intel isau del. Breathe. Answer. The blue fire of Mistra's death has faded. And in its place is a terrifying silence. The weave is mindless. It is a corpse, twitching, spasming, a storm of raw, uncontrolled power. And you are Midnight. And you are Midnight. Just a moment ago, you were a mortal mage, hiding, frightened, following a fallen goddess. Now that goddess is gone, annihilated, Nindamwaktio, and her power, her divinity, her infinite burden, is inside you. And you? It is a fire that is incinerating your soul. Ichi, and then, it hangs. You can hear it, the weave, the screaming chaos. It's calling to you. It's begging you for a mind, for a hand, for control. But you are just Midnight. You don't know how. You are a goddess, and you are powerless, trapped in your mortal skin. The power is a storm locked inside you, a sun in a paper box. You are not alone. No. Antipoesi, IQ. With you are your companions, the only people in the world you can trust. Or can you? There is Kelemvor, the warrior, noble, kind, but cursed. He knows what it is to be trapped by a fate you did not ask for. He is your anchor, your heart. And there is Sirik, the thief, the shadow, ambitious, bitter, jealous. His heart is a knot of darkness. He looks at you, at the divine fire shining through your skin, and he wants it. He does not love you. He covets you. You three lost mortals, and you are in the middle of a war of gods. The quest has not changed. The tablets of fate, Endikawan, are tablets of fate. The contract of the gods, no. Ein, wing. Mistra died, trying to reach them. Now, you must finish her task, not just to save the world, but to save yourselves. Your journey is a nightmare. The world is insane. Magic is a weapon that explodes in your hand. And you are being hunted. The fallen gods know what you are. Ishani Sisui Anshi. Baal, the god of murder, is dead, but his essence lingers, seeking a new vessel, and it finds a kindred spirit in Sirik. Miracle, the god of the dead, is here, a lord of bone and despair. He wants the tablets for himself. You fight, you run, you bleed, and with every step, the power in you grows. In Chao, you begin to understand. You begin to touch the chaos. You begin to heal the damage. Just a little. You weave spells, not from a book, but from your soul. You are becoming what you are. And Sirik is walking a darker path. He finds a sword, a sentient blade, that whispers to him, the voice of a dark god. It promises him power. It promises him everything. The climax comes. You find the tablets. Now, you climb the celestial stairway, the place where your predecessor was murdered. Ow, Ishan, and Ilwilman. Helm is still there, the guardian. Oh. But this time, he sees you. He sees the tablets in your hand, and he steps aside. Pountifak, you stand before Ao, the overgod, the judge, a being of cold, infinite light. He looks at you, three trembling mortals. He takes the tablets, Ishin lies, and he delivers his judgment. Ein, Kilemfor, your noble friend. He is judged. He has earned his own divinity. He is made the new god of the dead, a just and merciful judge to replace the tyrant Merkel. Sirik, your friend, your betrayer. He too is judged. He has gloved his hands in the power of Bahal and Merkel. He is a creature of pure ambition. And Eo, in his terrible wisdom, grants him his wish. Sirik becomes a god, the new god of lies, of murder, of strife, the god of madness. He is now your eternal enemy. And he smiles. And then, Ao looks at you. Endo, She saw, outside the stair at all, midnight. You, who hold the spark of Mystra. You, who did not ask for this. You, who have suffered. His voice is not sound. It is a knowing, Manindal. He confirms you. The paper box burns away. Your mortal form dissolves. Your consciousness explodes outward. Ishti Inaningam Shul. You are no longer midnight. You are Mystra. You are the we. You touch it. You become it. The screaming chaos stops. The mind has returned. Right? N. The weave settles. It sings. It is whole again. Magic is restored. The God's war is over. And you begin your reign. But you are not the goddess who came before. She was reborn from the first Mistral. She was cautious, vigilant, scowled. She knew mortals could not be trusted. You are different. You are midnight. You remember what it was to be human, to be afraid, to love, to trust. Your weave is different. It is warmer. It is more compassionate, more forgiving, more forgiving. You believe in mortals. You believe in their potential for good. You are a goddess of hope, a goddess of trust. Elminster, your old chosen, feels this, and he is deeply worried. The seven sisters feel this, and they are afraid. You are a human heart trying to manage an infinite system. Inch boys, and your enemies are no longer strangers. No, your greatest foe is Cyric, the mortal you once called friend. He knows you. He knows your human heart. He knows your weakness. And in the deepest darkness, the true enemy, the primordial void, and Shah, she has been watching this whole time. She watched Mystra die. She watched you ascend. And she sees you, this new goddess, this naive mortal girl. She sees an opportunity, a weakness. She hated the last Mystra, but she respected her. You, she will devour. Your reign has begun, a reign of compassion, a reign of trust, and it is doomed. Let your mind settle into this new wave. The weave of midnight, the weave of Mystra. It is warm, it is compassionate, it has a human heart. You are this goddess. You are trust, you are hope. And your oldest friends are terrified of you. And at you, Elminster, your chosen, the sage. He feels this change. He misses the cautious, scarred goddess he knew. This new mother of magic is too soft, too forgiving, too human, too human. He worries. The seven sisters, your daughters, they feel their mother's mind, and it is not hers. It is yours. You are an imposter, a kind imposter, but one who does not understand the ancient stakes. They are afraid. And your enemies, your true enemies, they do not fear you. They see your human heart, and they see a weakness, a flaw, a target. Cyric, the god of madness, the thief you once called friend. He hates you. He hates your light. He hates your compassion. He believes your power should be his. And Shah, the Lady of Loss, the primordial void, she has been waiting patiently for millennia. She watched the last Mistra, the cautious one, and she respected her, hated her, but respected her. You are Midnight. You are the mortal girl who stumbled into godhood. She sees your humanity not as a strength, but as an open wound. And now, she begins her final move. Her shadow weave is complete. Her poison is everywhere. Her plans are laid. She does not need a Casus. She has a better weapon. A weapon that already hates you. She goes to Cyric in his madness. She whispers. She fuels his paranoia, his jealousy, his rage. His rage. She is weak. She is a fool. That power should be yours. She is hoarding it. Take it, and you will be supreme. She is the master manipulator. Cyric is the mad dog. Waste. She is unleashing him. Enderly. Her plan is twofold. Insidious, perfect. Cyric will be the distraction, the assassin, and while you are fighting him, while you are locked in a battle with your old friend, Shah, will make her true move. She will merge her shadow weave with your true weave. She will corrupt all magic. Forever. She will win. The moment comes. Cyric finds you, his blade Godsbane dripping with shadow, his mind a storm of pure murderous insanity. He attacks. And you, Midnight, you, Mistra, you fight him. You try to reason with him. You use your human heart. You plead with the friend who is no longer there. And as you are distracted, as your divine will is focused on this madman, you feel it. A cold, a terrible, slithering darkness. Shah. She is at the heart of your weave. She is tearing down the walls. Her shadow weave is flooding in. You see the truth in one horrifying instant. Cyric is a puppet. This is not a fight. It is an execution. You have a choice. The same choice as Mistral. 1 second. If you continue to fight, if you try to stop them both, you will fail. Shah is too strong, too prepared. She will merge the weaves. She will win. All magic will become an instrument of despair and nothingness. All of creation will fall under her shadow. Or you can stop her. No. There can't cease. You cannot defeat her, but you can deny her the prize. You, Midnight, the human goddess, you make a choice, a sacrifice, not of caution, but of defiance. Rather than let your weave be corrupted, rather than let her win, you will destroy it, and yourself. In a final cosmic act of absolute will, you turn your power inward. You detonate your own divine essence. you murder yourself. It is your third death, and it is the end of the world. End. This is the spell plague. This is not like Narcissus' folly. Magic does not stop. This is not like the time of troubles. Magic does not go wild. The weave itself, the entire system of physics, shatters. In the town, imagine reality as a mirror, and you have just hit it with a sledgehammer. It is a storm of raw, unchanneled arcane energy exploding across the cosmos. In a town, and now and still, reality is torn apart. The land itself twists, mountains rise from the sea, lakes evaporate, continents buckle and shatter, flinging islands into the sky where they float in agony. The ground itself pulses with blue fire. Uncontrolled magic. Every spell is a gamble. A wizard tries to cast a simple light, and he explodes, or grows feathers, or turns to solid gold. Magic is anarchy. The boundaries between worlds tear. The elemental chaos bleeds into reality, creating landscapes of pure fire and ice that defy all law. Entire other worlds crash into this one, merging like a horrific wound. Mortals caught in the storm are warped, twisted, some disintegrate, others are branded, spell scars glowing blue runes on their skin that grant them madness and terrible power. For those who could once feel the weave as a song, it is now a maddening, cacophonous scream, the screaming of a dead goddess. This is the Dark Age. This is the apocalypse, and it lasts for over a century. And it lasts an age of magical anarchy. Until and your chosen Elminster, the Seven Sisters, they are broken. Their powers are gone, or warped. Their goddess, their mother, their friend is dead. Again. They are thrust into a world where their mastery is useless or deadly. They are just survivors, hiding, fighting, trying to salvage some small piece of order from the ruin they failed to stop. This was Mistra's final sacrifice. Neo and Elwin and Atio Gishiwi and Dalgakao. Her human heart chose to die to prevent Shah's ultimate victory. She saved the concept of magic from pure corruption. But the cost was reality itself. The goddess of magic was dead. The world was a scar. Enchanted, use. And for 100 years, there was only the screaming. Let your mind rest. Rest in that screaming silence. The silence of a century. Nature, and you. 100 years of madness, 100 years of blue fire, 100 years without a mind. The weave is dead. Midnight is gone. Shah's plan has failed, but in its failure it has destroyed everything. The world is broken, scarred, a chaos of colliding worlds and floating earth motes. This is the spell plague. Too. And it cannot last. The universe will not allow it. The cosmos demands balance. It demands order. It demands a weave. Just as after Casus's folly, the universe cried out for a mind. Now it cries out again. Oh, when, Otai. This time, it is the overgod Ao himself. He who began the last cataclysm with his anger. And now he sees the result. The unmaking, the failure of his own judgment, the death of magic, the colliding of worlds he had set apart. He acts. This is not a punishment. This is a repair. Now, more only a restoration. It is called the second sundering. Imagine the hands of a god, larger than the sky, reaching down, taking the broken, colliding worlds, and gently, painfully, pulling them apart. The world of Aber, that had crashed into Toril, is ripped away. The landscapes scream as they are torn back to their rightful places. The chaos is being undone. Ao is resetting the board. And he sees the true problem. The hole, the void, the place where the goddess of magic used to be. He knows he must fill it. The universe must have its mind. But who? Midnight is gone, her human soul sacrificed, utterly consumed in her final act of defiance. She is ashes. Mistral, the first light. Her naivete is long dead, a memory. Ao needs a guardian, a tested one who knows the stakes, one who has already done the job. He reaches into the past, into the afterlife. Now, he reaches for the soul of the goddess who Helm struck down. Watching the second incarnation, the cautious one, the one who ruled for millennia, the one who created the chosen, the one who banned Casus's magic. He finds her, and he calls her back. Imagine her awakening. Her last memory is terror, is Helm's gauntlet, is annihilation, and now she awakes. She is Mistra. Again. She is reborn. A third time. But she is changed. She is not just who she was. Now, I am. She is a composite. She is complete. She has the memories of Mistral, of her first naive creation. She has the agonizing scar of Casus in G. She has the vigilance of her long millennia of rule. She has the trauma of Helm's betrayal, of her own murder, and she has the memories of midnight. She absorbs the life of the mortal who replaced her. She feels Midnight's human heart, her compassion, her trust, and her final agonizing sacrifice. She understands what Shar did. She is all of them, all three lives, all three deaths. She is Mistra, whole, scarred, and infinitely wise. She is no longer just cautious. She is no longer just compassionate. Enda, Edandi, Nana Jero, Artesi. She is resolution. She is duty. And she begins her work. Again. Oh. She takes the screaming chaos of the spell plague, the shattered remnants of her weave, and she begins to reweave for the third time. Anon. Oh. The blue fire recedes. The screaming stops. The weave today, the weave of now. It is stable. It is strong. And it is hers. Magic works. The laws are back. The equations are true. The ban is absolute. Casus' folly, midnight's death. She knows. Mortals can never be trusted with magic above the 9th level. That door is sealed forever. But the scars remain. The spell plague was not erased. It was healed. And healing leaves scars. There are still places in the world where the weave is twisted, wild magic zones. Places where the blue fire still sleeps, where spells can still go wonderfully, terribly wrong. The world remembers its century of madness. New. And her chosen. Elminster. He feels it. The return, not the mortal girl, but his true mistress, his friend, the one he argued with, the one he served. His purpose is renewed. Out. The 7 sisters. Their mother has returned. Their true mother. Their bond is restored. Their vigil begins anew. Her great plot failed. She did not corrupt magic. She only broke it, and now it is back. Stronger, guarded by a goddess who now knows her every trick. Her hatred is infinite, but she is beaten. She waits in her darkness. And Mistra, our Lady of Magic, she is the omnipresent mind, the silent guardian. She is no longer the naive artist. She is no longer the compassionate human. Now, she is a goddess. She is the memory of 3 deaths, the wisdom of 3 lives. She is the silent hand that balances the cosmos, the mind that comprehends every spell, the vigilant heart that ensures the weave flows true. She is the very possibility of magic, a benevolent, omnipresent force, allowing us to wield spells, to weave enchantments, to hold reality together. And sustained by her eternal song. As you let this story of death and rebirth settle your mind, as you feel the calm, stable hum of her weave all around you, bringing peace, bringing order, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support truly helps us continue to delve into these deepest of stories, bringing the cosmos to life. Thank you, and rest well.